I think when most people think of a quote unquote bad Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, they typically think of this one. Thanks a lot, angry video game nerd. They rarely ever think of this one, which I actually think is a great game, but I'd be lying if I told you I didn't think it had some flaws. And we're going to talk about the good and the bad of this game through this video. We're going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cultural impact and the nostalgia that we still have for this game today. But I'm going to talk about maybe why some people might not feel the same way I do about this game because of my own personal experiences. So here we go. These two games couldn't be more drastically different, honestly. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, to be honest, we were just excited we had a Ninja Turtles game, period. It is not like the second one at all. The first one is very much a side-scrolling platforming type game, and it also has a top-down map exploration, very similar to Zelda 2. I get very Zelda 2 vibes from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Whereas this is the game a lot of us thought we were going to get originally as the first Ninja Turtles game because it's based on the arcade version. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Mania had taken the world by storm. It started out as a comic book, then there's the cartoon, then there's the toys, and of course video games was the natural next direction. This game is not a carbon copy of the arcade version, though it has all the same levels plus additional levels. But the problem with the NES is the NES had its limitations. The NES was not an arcade at home, though it felt like this is the closest we could get at the time, until the Super Nintendo came out, of course. And this game has, the graphics are just not that great. I mean, the characters look a little weird when they're facing the camera. It looks like the Ninja Turtle has like one eye. It's really weird. But there also are some huge, awesome things. For example, there are exclusive levels on the NES. I mean, there's two characters who are bosses in the game that were not in the original arcade. There's Tora, and you fight him in this ice level. And there's Shogun, where you fight him in this, Japanese style martial arts, place that looks kind of like it belongs in Japan, but it's not Japan. And it's really interesting. And both of these characters are intergalactic bounty hunters hired by Shredder to basically finish the job and take care of the Turtles, who have never been defeated. This game, though, was a huge improvement over the first one because the first one was a one-player game. And you know what? What's the fun of playing a Ninja Turtles game if you're playing it by yourself? The Ninja Turtles are all about, working together and brotherly love and stuff like that, Now, it is a downside that this game doesn't utilize the four score, like being able to play 4 players would be great, but I understand why, because it comes back to the NES's limitations. There would be so much flicker on that screen, at the time if they had tried to make this game, because it's just, considering the technology that was available at the time, that just was not possible, but it was still great. You could play as 2 players. It was a co-op 2-player beat 'em up game. When I was just a little kid in the 1990s, getting this game for my birthday was a really big deal to me. I was obsessed with Ninja Turtles. I had so many Ninja Turtles action figures. I had just gotten an NES pretty recently at the time. It was incredible to get this game that I had rented from the IGA grocery store several times and finally get it and have mine to call my own. It was incredible. It was an experience like no other. I think about my fond memories playing this game with my friend Corey, who's this kid I knew in school. He didn't have an NES. Or maybe he had an NES, but he didn't have a Super NES. I can't remember. But we had so much fun playing this game side by side. We get so close to beating the Shredder. I mean, I don't think we ever actually beat the Shredder, but we got really, really close a bunch of times. It's just like, especially like fighting Krang. Krang wore us down so bad, and you get to Shredder, and man, it's just like you just weren't strong enough to finish it. But it as a game that taught you to work together as friends, and like who would get the pizza was such a big deal. I mean, this is an experience you just like no other. It's just so hard to explain to people nowadays with modern Ninja Turtles games. I think about the first time I fought, Rocksteady, and then Shredder comes out of nowhere and you think, oh my gosh, am I fighting Shredder already? No, he steals April. It's just wild stuff, honestly. I remember the character of Tora from the, Ice World there, and he was really hard, actually, surprisingly hard. And it's a character we've never seen anywhere else. And Shogun, was just freaking crazy, especially the way his head was fly around or whatever and stuff. To me, the Shogun feels like almost sort of a predecessor to like Chrome Dome, which was, of course, a robotic shredder back in the 90s. Yeah, and this game was just something else. Just nothing like it, man. Nothing like it at all. And what was really cool is, of course, you have this, instruction booklet, and what's on the back? A coupon for a personal pan pizza to Pizza Hut. It's crazy to think they used to have coupons for pizza places on the back of a game manual. And that's when Pizza Hut was really good. Pizza Hut was really good, or at least in my mind, it was really good. It's really bad now to me in my mind. Maybe it was always bad, and I don't know. I just don't know any better. I don't know, but I loved Pizza Hut. I loved going to sit-down Pizza Huts. All the Pizza Huts now are Pizza Hut Expresses. Okay, it's just not the same anymore. This Turtles game crawled so other Turtles games could run, like Shredder's Revenge. My son and I played Shredder's Revenge not that long ago, and we absolutely loved it. And it was so nostalgic for me, but he just loved playing as Ninja Turtles. He didn't care. And the gameplay was way more approachable, and there's cool special moves. And I'll be honest, guys, as much as I say that this is my very favorite Ninja Turtles game, I've played the Manhattan Project, and to be honest, I'd be lying. I'd be lying my butt off if I didn't say the Manhattan Project is better in every way, honestly, to this game. I mean, better sprites, more special moves that you wouldn't think the NES could handle, but can. I mean, even the first couple bosses, you got freaking Ground Chuck and Slash. I mean, holy cow. It was really something, and there's just so many cool, neat things about the Manhattan Project that just puts this game to shame. But that doesn't mean I don't still love this game. This game means something to me personally. So why make a video called It's Unplayable? This game is unplayable. It's unplayable because you can't play the way it was intended to be played. You can't go back to 1990 and play this game all over again. You can't take that coupon for the instruction booklet and go down to your Pizza Hut, or whatever, your sit-down Pizza Hut and have that pizza. You can't really sit down and play this game with a friend the way you did back then, because you know what? Back then you didn't have a lot of options. You were lucky to have 10 NES games back in the day. These were your options. Knowing there's better games out there, better versions of Ninja Turtles games out there, makes it really hard to appreciate this game the way it deserves to be appreciated, the way it deserved to be appreciated when it was new, when it was exciting, when it's the type of game, you would play right after you were watching Saturday morning Ninja Turtles cartoons. You can't replicate that feeling. As much as I'd like to say that you can, you just can't. It just has a different vibe that I can't ever replicate, You can't recapture your childhood no matter how much you'd like to. My son can play this game with me, and we can enjoy this game together, and we have. We've played it together and enjoyed it. And you know what his first reaction was? He's like, Dad, this game's kind of hard, honestly, compared to other Turtles games. I'm like, it is. The difficulty level is more difficult because this was an arcade game. This was designed to eat quarters, and they did not take that part out of the game at all about it being designed to eat quarters. But, of course, there's Konami codes, and we could put the Game Genie in or whatever, but it's still not quite the same, is it? It's not quite the same. And I'll have to be really honest with you guys. As cool as it is to play this on an original NES, on a CRT, there's so many better ways to play this nowadays. Honestly, if I have to be really honest with myself, I mean, of course you can play on the Cowabunga collection. You could use an emulator, play on a, PC. There's so many different ways you could play this game now. And you would have, of course, save states, which are super helpful. There's just so many different ways you can play this now and really just get through the game and experience it. But you're not experiencing it the way you would. And I don't even think even playing it on the old school ways gives you that exact same feeling. Though it's close, but it's just not the same. That's why I say this game is unplayable. Not because, you can't play it or, it's glitched out and you can't get through it. I'm saying you can't play it the way you did when you were a kid. I think back to when my buddy and I, we used to play this game, it brought us together in a great sense of camaraderie, camaraderie that, people don't understand nowadays because we have every single video game in all of existence at our fingertips compared to what we once did. So it's hard to look at this game quite the same way as I did because this was your only option, maybe. Maybe this was one of very few options. Like I had Battletoads and Double Dragon on the NES because, again, I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I do have that game as well. In fact, I got it right here. Yeah, Battletoads and Double Dragon. And got it upside down here. Double Dragon on the NES. Yeah, it's great to have games like that. It's great to have these games that make us feel a certain way. That's truly nostalgic. But man, At the end of the day, you're just never going to be able to quite replicate that experience, will you? But would I recommend people play this today? Play this particular version? I think simply for the fact that it has 2 exclusive levels and 2 exclusive bosses, that alone makes this game worth playing. But would I tell people to go out and buy an NES and buy, the original game? No. I would say if you have a Nintendo Switch, just get the Cowabunga collection. I have the majority of the 8 and 16-bit, games, and I question myself. I question whether if I hadn't bought these before the Cowabunga collection existed, would I have bought them? I don't know. I can't truly answer that because that's not what happened, But for the most part, if there was one game, if there was a fire in the house, I would grab this game. This would be one of the few games I would grab, honestly. If there was a fire in the house and I had to grab a bunch of games, just because of how much it means to me personally. I think about, when this came out, around the same time, the Turtles movie came out, and then there's Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, there's so much, slices of 90s nostalgia that just, course through my veins when I think about this game and I think about this experience and when I think about what it meant to me. And I think about, again, I talked about my friend Corey. Unfortunately, yeah, Corey's no longer with us and that makes me sad, but I always have those memories of playing that game with him. Honestly. And yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it is unplayable in a sense. It's unplayable in a sense that the fact that you can't ever experience it the same way, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't experience it. You should definitely go play it in modern ways if you can, because as cool as playing the old school way is, it'll never replicate that feeling I had as a kid because I was a different person back then. And so are you. You are a different person. At the end of the day, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, unplayable? It's not the best Turtles game anymore, but it is a game worth playing, and it's absolutely what you make of it. If you've played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game on the NES, and you played it back in the day or even played it in modern times, what are your memories of it? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and stay awesome in this universe. Later.